Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Taj. Today we're going to be talking about yet another player for the New York Knicks that is almost for sure not going to be returning, and that is I would say the best player on this team, Carmelo Anthony. We all know about Carmelo, okay? Basically, all the signs point to him leaving. The only thing that's stopping him from leaving is himself. I don't think he wants to leave, but this team is trying to rebuild. He's not a part of that future, and he just wants, he wants to stay there because his family is there. But it's not good for the team for him to be there, so they want to ship him on out. And it's funny because somebody I was on the Hoop Talk podcast on B-Soul's channel just yesterday. Somebody brought up this point about Carmelo Anthony in the podcast. I don't remember who it was, but somebody said that Melo is like the girlfriend that you're trying to get rid of, but she just won't go away. And it's kind of true. I mean, honestly, this dude, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be there next year. I can't tell you for sure because you never know with this guy. The no trade clause is definitely a factor. Will he waive it is the question, because they're going to try to trade him. They're going to try to get rid of him. And maybe they don't, but it looks like they will. And it looks like, we're looking at these quotes that we're seeing from him lately, and it doesn't seem very likely that he's staying there. And just for the sake of this video, we're going to assume that he's not staying in New York. So yeah, I probably have talked. Yeah, I know I've definitely talked about this before. But that we all thought. I mean, some people thought he was going to be gone at the trade deadline. Now I think it's a lot more. This seems much more possible. And I think, look, get the right team to get this guy, and he could definitely fit on a roster. First thing I'm going to talk about here is what Melo's role on a new team would be. We have always known Melo for basically his whole career as that number one guy, that go-to scorer, the guy that's going to always take the most shots in your team. He's actually developed quite a reputation for taking a ton of shots, not passing the ball. We've heard it before. We all know what Melo's about. Every NBA fan almost should know who Melo is, what he plays like, what this guy is about. And I think we all do. So with that being said, this transition, given that it happens, is gonna be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, of Carmelo Anthony's career. And here's why. Carmelo Anthony isn't programmed mentally to be, a third option or even a bench player. And not to say that he's gonna be a bench player, because I highly doubt that. You'd have to have a stacked ass team. If he goes to the Warriors, then yeah, he'd be a bench player. But he's not going to the Warriors. And I guess, look, if you want to get technical, you could say, they could slide him in and move Draymond to the 5. For the sake, it doesn't matter, okay? You guys get my point. The guy's role is going to be certainly decreased. He was the best player on a really bad team this year, meaning that he goes to a contender, which, he's likely going to go to a really good team. That's what all the signals point to. It wouldn't really make sense for him to go to a mediocre team. I don't think he'd want to go to a mediocre team. He wants to win. That makes sense. So he's going to go to a good team, a team that he can elevate. He's not going to go to a bad team. That wouldn't make any sense. He has no trade clause. So yes, they would trade him. But he would have to approve the trade. So they'd have to get a deal with someone that he would like to go to. Now, I got a few options in mind. Not really a lot that y'all haven't heard before. But maybe, I could come up with some teams that we haven't considered for this, because the teams that we've considered are the Clippers and the Celtics and the Cavs. People are considering the Cavs. But then, you have other teams like the Raptors or the Grizzlies or the Pelicans, or I could come up with some teams that might use this guy that are under the radar, because it's kind of like DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, no one was really thinking DeMarcus Cousins was going to go to the Pelicans. The eyes were really more on the team like the Lakers, and we didn't really have that many options, because that DeMarcus Cousins trade, there was not a lot of notice for that. I mean, we knew that he was always in trade rumors, but it's not like there were impending teams. Like with Carmelo Anthony, it's like, okay, well, we heard about the Celtics and the Cavs and the Clippers. I'm going to talk about, first of all, the Cavs. There's just no way. First of all, the cap room issue is major. I don't think Carmelo Anthony is going to bring anything to that team, because they're all offense and little defense. That's the big thing with the Cavs. They don't need more scoring. They don't need more guys to shoot the ball because they got enough of that. And Carmelo Anthony is not just a shooter. His scoring is, it's problematic. This is a problem with Carmelo Anthony. The fact that, he's really good at making tough shots, but he's not all that great at making wide open shots. Meaning that he basically plays like a star player. He's not a role player. I mean, he's just the opposite of a role player. That's why this might not work anywhere. That's why he might not be a good fit anywhere. And I talked about D Rose the last video and why I think he should be a bench player. Carmelo Anthony is kind of a victim of the same exact thing. Melo's gonna go to a good team, right? And I didn't really finish my thought on the Cavs. But just to sum that up, it's like he doesn't fit. They don't need more scoring, and he's just gonna bring shooting. And he's like a guy that wants to have the ball in his hands a lot, and they already have LeBron and Kyrie and K-Love to have touches and stuff. Anyway, what I was saying about Carmelo and the thing with, he knows he's a star player at heart. We know that he's gonna play like a star player. But his production, isn't quite of a guy that's like your number one guy on a championship team. He's not that good. He's good, but he's not that good. And if he goes to a really good team, like I said, I was mentioning, I think the Celtics is a good destination for him, just because they could use some scoring to take the load off Isaiah Thomas. I think that would be the only location that really makes a lot of sense. Maybe the Clippers, like a team that might need another ball handler. That would make a little bit more sense, because the difference is that Carmelo can shoot the basketball. He's versatile. They guard him everywhere. A lot of attention is brought to Carmelo Anthony from the defensive end. So the Celtics and the Clippers would probably both make sense. But yeah, like the thing was why I said Derrick Rose could be a backup is just because, he's got to have the ball in his hands to be effective, and starting lineup on a great team wouldn't want him to have the ball in his hands because they have better options, guys that are more versatile. They can shoot the ball, they can, do this, do that. Melo is a little bit of the same way, but he can be a second option. Now, when you start talking about Melo being the third option, it gets a little bit iffy because, you start to think about like, okay, well, Melo's not going to get as many opportunities. Why is he out there? If you're going to have Melo on your team, the only way he's going to really be effective is with scoring the basketball. That's what Melo does. Melo is a pure scorer. So on a team like the Celtics, it would work perfectly because he could be the second option. And option doesn't necessarily mean like best player, because Isaiah Thomas is the first option. Melo would be your second option in terms of scoring. Al Horford is a better basketball player than Melo, probably. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that outlandish for me to say that? Maybe this year Al Horford isn't doing as good as he did last year. Melo, he hasn't done that much. But Melo, maybe, I don't know. I don't think Melo could really be the second best player on the championship team. I know he could be, maybe if it's really well-rounded, but I know he could be the third best player on a championship team while being the second option offensively, scoring the basketball. If Isaiah gets touches to score and Melo gets some touches to score, I think that could really work. Now, what would this mean for a Boston Celtics lineup? If you get Melo, you're moving someone to the bench, and it might be Melo, okay? The Celtics really like their lineup. I mean, they got Crowder in there at the 3 spot, and I don't really see him moving because he's a really effective player that plays both ends. He can shoot the basketball. He's efficient. He's a smart player. Maybe you move Amir Johnson to the bench and you move Melo to the 4. That might work a little bit better. You wonder how Melo guards the 4s and switches on pick and rolls and stuff like that. But I think that's a much better move than moving to the bench, moving Jay Crowder to the bench. I wouldn't do either of those things if I got Melo. I mean, honestly, if you move him to the bench and you play him like 27 minutes a game, then he could be a really effective weapon. I don't know. I mean, that could be crazy. That would be an incredible weapon off the bench to have Carmelo Anthony. Like, that would be sick, okay? Anyway, I'm saying the Celtics are the prime destination. But then let's get more to those teams that I was talking about. The Raptors, you see the Raptors trading for Carmelo Anthony. The Raptors are like one step away from being a contender. I mean, they always are. They got Ibaka, but I still don't really see it this year at least. But they would definitely love to have Melo, especially because that 3 spot is somewhere that they'd like to have another guy. Maybe they don't want another scorer. Maybe that wouldn't work because of that. Maybe they want more defense. In that case, it's kind of just like the Cavs. You just don't need it. It's just an extra piece you don't need. The Grizzlies makes a little bit of sense because he could fit in there. Their small forward spot is kind of a void, and that team needs more offense. They need more shooting. Melo can bring that to the table. Another team I didn't mention is the Oklahoma City Thunder. This guy could play with Westbrook, with the Thunder, and take some shots away from him, which they need, and, you know, get more shooting there. That's also a good idea, I think. And who else? Did I say another team? I think I said the Pelicans. That was it. That would be crazy. These are just ideas, theories. What do you guys think? Where do you guys think will be the best destination, the most entertaining destination, or like the best? What team would he elevate the most? What team does he fit on? I mean, there's a couple teams you could throw him on. You know, I want to see what y'all think about this, and you know, if you enjoy, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Again, comment who you think Melo should join in the off season. Subscribe if you are new, and I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.